Hey, all, welcome everybody. Doing a little something different today. We've got a announcement slash press conference coming up that I wanted to cover and give analysis to on the spot. Could be meaningful, uh, and hopefully informative to you all. There's the live feed there. As soon as it starts, we'll pick it up. In the meantime, if you have any question or comment, as usual, just go ahead and type it where you're watching this. Hopefully, it's the Wings of the Eagle YouTube channel. That is the most helpful to share and participate in. Love if you would do that. Even if you're watching, let's say on Facebook or on X is good. You could hang out there. But on Facebook or my personal YouTube channel, this is Christopher Manti. If that's the channel you're on, please go subscribe to Wings of the Eagles channel. Instead, we are moving and transitioning all the stuff over to that moving forward. And yeah, hey, Bond Servant. Yeah, I saw that what the pre-announcement announcement is supposed to be about, and I'm sure that's what the actual item is that they're calling it. Will it have subpoena power? Will there be an announcement of a field hearing of a visit, which the committee is already empowered to do? So we'll see. It'll be interesting, hopefully, to get a little somewhere with this. Maybe it's a big nothing burger, and there's no reason to get excited, and so we're going to find out. It's better to do it live here, I figure, than react to other people's reactions. Right? So if you're here with me now, it's a good place to be. And again, share this with your friends. And this is certainly a place where we talk about a lot of different stuff here on Wings of the Eagle, and this is one of those things. So you should know, if you don't know already, Representative Luna has been very, very consistent for several years now on this, generally, the transparency of government issue. Obviously, I'm right there with her. And one of the very few who have come out in public support or trying to move the legislative and executive branch towards being transparent, and use whatever word you want: disclosure, transparency, declassification. She's been very, very vocal in that as far as the UFO situation and getting answers at all. And because she has realized, as some of her colleagues also have admitted, that they're being stonewalled in their work, as the People's House of Representatives, for example, and the Senate has the same issue. And so there's more than just the UFO issue, where although there may be real connections to other things that we don't want to talk about, like the JFK files. And while we're waiting, and we are still waiting, okay, there's the Representative Luna's actual feed there. Anyway, the point is, she's been very vocal and out front and consistent on this, even through the most recent slog of junk at the end of last year, with that second hearing that was held with Lou Elizondo and Tim Gallaudet, Schellenberger, and all that. Her and Burchett are still worthy of our trust to this point. Nancy Mace is not. Not on this issue. And so let's see what we got. That's what I'm looking forward to. Bonturge says we have an internet outage, so watching on phone plus a snowstorm. Well, make sure you get your phone charged up. You have a backup power bank or something. No worries. Yeah, well, there you go. Hope fulfilled. I'm not sure why you would not be on time for your own press conference. Unless, funny business. Anyway, so Representative Luna is, at least to this point, again, has been and is one of the good guys, so to speak, on pushing for transparency on a lot of things. So I think that's why wait, it's here now. Why isn't it live on my feed? There we go. Refresh.
On the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK. This task force serves to build on President Trump's actions. For far too long, the American people have had reasonable questions of what their government, which they fund every day, keeps hidden about certain issues. And for far too long, the federal government has not answered these questions. This creates distrust in our institutions. That ends today. The voters of this nation delivered a historic mandate to President Trump on November 5th. The keystone of that mandate was demanding increased transparency of their government and elected leaders. And the mandate of this task force is to acquire that transparency. We will open this up for questions from the media, but first I'd like to hand it over to my esteemed colleague and chairman of the new task force, Congresswoman Luna, for her remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. When our founding fathers stood against tyranny, they did not merely oppose taxes. They defended the sacred idea of individual sovereignty. They declared that no government, agency, or title could infringe upon the freedoms of speech, religion, thought, and the pursuit of truth. For too long, the American spirit has been dimmed by a veil of secrecy, by a government that has grown too comfortable in the shadows, denying us the transparency we deserve. But today, we stand at the dawn of a new era where the light of truth begins to shine through. A few weeks ago, President Donald Trump made a historic announcement. With the stroke of a pen, he committed to declassifying the files concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a decision not just monumental, but pivotal. It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs.
Interesting.
The Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files.
Mm-hmm.
This task force will be a beacon of bipartisanship. On the Republican side, Representatives Burchett, Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will be allowing certain members to waive on. Our first hearing is set for March. The date will be announced soon, and we've already initiated close to a dozen communications with various agencies, to include Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us. It is my solemn duty to begin mending this trust, to form a new relationship between the government and the governed. Let us embark on this journey together towards a government that does not serve, but one that enlightens. That does not just serve, but one that enlightens. Trust through transparency, that begins now. Without further ado, we'd like to open it up for questions, as I'm sure many of you have those.
Okay, I have one.
Thank you, Madam. Obviously, your goals are aligned with the administration's on the declassification of Martin Luther King and the Kennedys. How would you handle if you end up, whether it's President Trump or Attorney General Bondi or E&I Gabbard, if they disagree with, what you're looking to declassify on a certain topic, whether it's UAPs or 9/11 or something like that? How would you handle if there's, some stuff that they don't necessarily want?
Well, certainly, I think that they'd be supportive, being that they're advocating for this. But also, I want to remind the American people that this is bipartisan. There's also Democrats that are looking into answering these very questions. But certainly, we would share that information with the American people. This is about transparency. And I think, again, as I stated for far too long, there's been a massive push to keep the American people in the dark, and that ends today. Chairman?
The task force does not have subpoena power. I do. The task force is going to be subsidiary of the full oversight committee. So if we have to issue one, Congresswoman Luna, we'll discuss it and we'll take appropriate action.
But in full transparency, we have a great working relationship, as I stated earlier, with the White House, with the DOJ.
The question
with the
was
Secretary of
about
Defense, and the Secretary of
subpoenas.
State. The incoming FBI director, I think, will be very supportive. And we've also been told that the CIA director is very supportive. To put it in perspective, I think that this issue transcends not just one administration, but multiple administrations. And it hasn't been until now that we've been able to get people actually in positions of power that will push for transparency. Now, if I find that different entities in the various intelligence agencies are stonewalling us, I'm going to make that known to the American people. But as of right now, we are cautiously optimistic. Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were two shooters, and we should be finding more information as we are able to gain access into the SCIF, hopefully before the files are actually released to the public.
Thank you for doing this. Have you identified the Democrats who will sit on the task force, and could you talk a little bit more about the role of Democrats?
Yeah, so again, this is a bipartisan commission. Remember, JFK was a Democrat, RFK was a Democrat, and I'm sure that I think the entire conference has a question on what actually happened with Dr. Martin Luther King, but also UAPs. You guys know that that was the biggest bipartisan bicameral hearing that we've ever had, I think, in congressional history. I do not know who their members are yet. They've noticed it, but they're taking this very seriously. This is not a conspiracy theory investigating committee. We're actually looking to present truth to the American people. And it's in my opinion that no one person elected to office is more important or more qualified to look at the information that they've been hiding from us. And so we look to push for that transparency.
What sort of witnesses do you expect to have at your hearings? The first ones in March. Would that be department heads, former employees of various agencies?
Would you like to jump
Go
in?
ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say, based on what we're actually looking to do with the JFK investigation, I'm looking to actually bring in some of the attending physicians at the initial assassination, and then also people that had been on the various commissions looking into, like the Warren Commission looking into the initial assassinations. There's been conflicting evidence, and I think that even the FBI at the time reported some anomalies in the initial autopsy at Bethesda, Maryland. All of those, though, seem to have been rinsed and repeated in the media to push a certain narrative that we don't agree with. And so I think that in order to put to bed some of the theories,
I see.
to know the
I
full
see
truth,
your
the truth,
questions, guys. I'll
transparency, and
get
that's
to
why
them
these
and
files is so
when they're
important
done
for the
here.
American people to read for themselves. The biggest information problems that we've had with UAPs is the amount of stonewalling, stovepiping, and also it seems that this push to gaslight the American people into looking at the evidence and then not fully believing it. I think for us, if we're writing the budget, for example, into the Pentagon, if we're writing the budget overall for whatever programs might be out there, why is it that members of Congress who are given a top secret security clearance are being denied access? That's not a free and true government. And so for us, especially being that we have now a Secretary of State who's actually open to declassification and Marco Rubio, we're hoping to present that information and at least acknowledge it from a government perspective that we are not alone, but also let's see what the evidence is.
Thank you. Have you already been in contact with the CERT to send requests to these different agencies and federal departments?
Yes, in fact, the letters went out this morning, not just on RFK, JFK, and MLK, but on everything that I had listed above to include UAPs, Epstein, and 9/11 and COVID, to the State Department, Department of Defense, CIA, and then also we'll be sending some to the FBI, and letters have also gone out to the NSA. Well, what's interesting on that specific committee is what, to my understanding, when they actually brought in expert witnesses, they weren't actually people that were in attendance to the initial autopsy at Bethesda. But also, this is a bigger committee than just the JFK assassinations. We're also expanding into Epstein, COVID origins, 9/11s, and then UAPs and USOs. And so before, where we initially had some of these hearings, this is going to be an encompassing committee that's going to work directly with the White House on information that they're declassifying. Yeah. Correct. Correct. There's actually 3 different government investigations into the JFK assassination. But again, this committee is expanding not just there, but outwards into other fields. And again, we're working directly with the White House. In previous investigations, they didn't have access to the information that we are going to have access to. And so that's a big deal, especially if you're looking at what truly happened with JFK. I already have a top secret clearance. All members of Congress have a TSCI. The question is do we get SAP access, of which Chairman Comer has been very supportive, and we'll be getting SAP access as well.
USAP and
Okay,
WUSAP.
2 more, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Obviously, some of the questions on some of these topics, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or COVID-19, the questions are obvious. What specifically, though, are the questions you're looking to get answered with regards to September?
We just want the truth. How much did the CIA know in advance? But also remember, when you have only certain information that's shared with the American people, that's when conspiracy theories happen. And it's in my opinion that conspiracy theories can be detrimental. It doesn't mean that in the last couple of months we haven't been right on a few things. But what I will say is I think that we deserve to give this information to the American people. I don't agree with the stonewalling that's occurred. And also, how do we prevent things like it from happening in the future? And we have to know the full picture, and the American people deserve to know that as well.
Can we expect any collaboration with government efficiency?
I don't know what information Doge would have, but I would encourage them, if they have anything on JFK, Epstein, or anything in between, that they bring it to our office immediately. Okay, 1 more and then we'll wrap it up. Of course.
Well, we have a lot of questions. Some of the people in the mayor's administration have been vocal that they weren't going to comply with federal law, that they were going to continue to act as sanctuary cities. We want to know about coordination and communication they had between the previous administration. How did so many of these illegals get there? Who was paying for it? Who were they communicating with to be able to provide housing and so many other benefits to such a large population of people? Just the basic questions we all have. Who was paying for it? Who was leading the efforts to transport the illegals from
This actually was a question.
wherever their entry point was
not-
in the United States to these sanctuary cities?
Not
And are
relevant
the mayors going to
to the
comply with federal law now? Are
task
they going
force
to
announcement.
work with Tom Homan and the national security groups in the Trump administration to try to deport the criminal illegals and stop being a sanctuary city? Worried about what?
Do we feel less worried about Eric Adams?
Eric Adams? I mean, he was one of the first mayors to bring up the bring up the crisis situation, the fiscal impact on the city. So I think he would be a very good witness, and we have a lot of questions for him, just like we do the other three mayors. So
All right, one last question, then we're going to wrap it up. News Nation, let's go.
Yeah, News Nation.
Can you talk about your relationship with whistleblowers? Is it going to be the normal process that oversight typically does, or would this be? Are you going to create a separate avenue?
I mean, we're all about the normal process, but look, if you have information and it's credible, we've always approached it in that I'd like to be the person that does the interviews for it, mainly because, especially with stuff like this, we want to make sure that there's, not bad actors that are pushing false information to create a narrative that's simply not there. And so, every whistleblower that does come forward, as of right now, there's people that have been publicly out there, for example, on the JFK stuff, that were actually present in the room at the operating room where he was actually brought to right after the shooting. So we hope to bring those people in to testify. And again, these hearings will be open to the public. I am also expanding this to the entire conference. So if someone's going to take this seriously and look at it through an investigative lens and get answers for the American people, they are welcome to ask questions of the witnesses, and you guys will all receive notice of that.
and we'll work with anyone who currently works with the federal government that wants to declare whistleblower status and receive whistleblower protection, if that's what they're interested in doing. And I don't think they're going to face the type of retaliation that the previous administration gave whistleblowers, particularly the IRS whistleblowers that blew the whistle on the cover up of the Biden family.
And I'd also like to close with this. If you are an independent investigator, we are being told that the FBI has now located thousands of pages of documents that they lost before, specifically relating to JFK.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to get through as much as we can. We have a great team of attorneys. We have a great team of investigators looking into this, but it doesn't mean that we won't accept help from the public. And so we will be setting up a place for collection for people to present information. But again, this is about transparency. The government works for us. There have been people, I think, in power for too long that try to silo us and keep us in the dark, but that stops today. You're seeing that same message come out of the White House, out of the CIA, the FBI, and every other agency in between. So we are very happy to have the support of all of those individuals, happy to have the support of Chairman Comer and Speaker Johnson. And if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Oversight Comms, and we'd be happy to answer those at that time. Thank you, guys.
All righty. That looks like the entirety. Right. Okay. Okay. What do we think? Let's see where you guys are at, and then we'll deliver my thoughts here, I guess. Does this mean whistleblowers will finally come forward? No more skiff stuff. Well, bond servant, that's two different issues. A whistleblower is alleging something illegal or improper and wants to be protected under whistleblower laws so they're not retaliated against by their employer or what have you. Testifying in public versus a skiff is up to that whistleblower. If they have NDAs that they are choosing to break or keep, that's up to them. If they have gone through a process of, like, for example, David Grush and Lou Elizondo, they presented what they wanted to speak about in public to the Defense Department, the DOPSR process, for them to clear. So they'll never get in trouble if DOPSR clears it. They're totally fine. But some things DOPSR would not approve of them to speak up public. So it's just a way to do it. So when they say we got to go to the skiff to talk about this, basically they've already agreed to do that. Like that's what they're going to proceed, because they don't want to break their agreements. So that's not really on anyone else other than the person who comes forward. But as you heard there at the end, there is some, they're basically saying anyone who wants to come to us and you'll be afforded whistleblower protections. I'm sure that is better than Arrow for folks who wanted to maybe come forward on the UAP thing. The first thing that was interesting to me before I get to your other comments here, sorry, is that she separated UAP from USOs. I think the main reason for that is to put that out on the public that that's a thing. USOs are a thing. It's real. It's really happening. There's lots of evidence. There's lots of testimony about being underwater. Your average citizen has no clue that UFOs are underwater. Big ones, right? Fast ones, right? Messing with all kinds of submarines and stuff. They have no clue. It's totally unknown. So to bring that up publicly, I think is one of the purposes of that. Number two, it would give them more coverage or more leverage to go after certain things maybe that you couldn't just brush off as, it fits in this category or that one. So it's probably meant to help themselves in this thing as well. I did not hear, and maybe I missed it because it started, I guess, a couple seconds before we saw it. Did anyone happen to hear about is there a time limit, or is this a limited time task force? Like, is there only like a 6-month time frame, or like a lease, permission for only a short period of time? I had heard that, but not from them, not from Luna, or Coma or whatever. So I'm curious if that came up or not. If it did, from what she's talking about, this is a big long-term, lots of information. Just the JFK stuff, it will take a long time to get through. And why did they all put it together instead of just doing, UAP stuff? Probably the stigma, I would guess, so everyone could get behind it. They were kind of throwing all the stuff that's being hidden in any way. If there's any kind of official documentation that the government's not releasing about any big issues over the past 50 years, basically, or longer, this is going to be under inspection now. So I get why they did that. But it will bring people in who, let's say, they're really passionate about getting to the bottom of COVID, or getting to the bottom of, people say 9/11, whatever, their secret files. Like, for that, for example, I don't think there'll be any great revelation about, something we didn't know about 9/11. It's not like a conspiracy, like America's behind it, but there probably some stuff about Saudi Arabia that's very, very embarrassing, or looks very bad on Saudi Arabia that we don't want to come out because we're allies with them, like that kind of stuff, for example. But to have all these things in one, it just gets a broader base of support. Like, hey, okay, I'm behind that. I'm behind this idea that this is serious. Now, to this question, which is valid, Madam Rex says, why would simply releasing documents need a task force? It would not. It doesn't. Maybe discovering that there are such documents would be the main point. But your main point is correct. The president can release anything at any time. He or she doesn't need any permission from anybody. They have declassification authority. They can release whatever. So that's why it's kind of really annoying that the JFK, for example, he said they're give me a plan in 2 weeks or whatever that was, and that 2 weeks was up on Friday. And the plan was apparently presented. Why haven't we heard anything since Friday? Donald Trump, like, give it to us now. Anyway, you don't need a task force to release anything. That is correct. To have hearings, to have what we did not hear is a field hearing announcement. Very disappointed in that, honestly. They could have really moved the ball more. I mean, this is all interesting and stuff. Obviously I agree with the thrust and the language of it, right? The appeal to the emotion of it all. Sure. Brian Hodges, they're making a task force to select the task force. Well, I don't know about that. It's a little too negative, probably. If they have people, all you need is two, really. But there was a UAP task force, remember? And it's organic. It was organic. You were on it. You added more people to it. You wanted to investigate this particular aspect or call people in to tell you about that particular aspect. So that doesn't really bother me. We need the current alien phenomenon addressed first, in my opinion. I mean, that whole issue, basically, like the UAP issue, the NHI, right? Non-human intelligence. That's the elephant in the room. Is that if UFOs are real and USOs are real, and we know that they're real things, and we've even recovered some things. We know they are. We have them in places that laboratories and bunkers and stuff, and even some kind of biological creatures somehow are involved in this, and we have that. You would think that's definitely more urgent and more important to tell the American public about. Do we have live biological entities or actual UFO parts in Nevada or in Maryland or in Virginia or something? That I think would be more important to the average American than who really killed JFK, because he's still dead. But there is quite a bit of evidence that ties together these two subjects, the JFK assassination, not just who did it, but why. There's a lot of assumptions as to why, but the real reason why may be UFO stuff. So that would be interesting and maybe she already knows that, Luna, or assumes it and is going to use that to roll that. I don't know. Oops, that's me. JFK's autopsy was done where Forrestal was murdered. So this is I know Madam Rex is very, very keen on this aspect. So am I. Is that there was this, obviously, a former defense secretary, James Forrestal, and he died under some really suspicious circumstances after wanting to talk about stuff, and that's tied into JFK. JFK visited his grave, right? It's really interesting connections there. It's potential connections anyway. Hey, Loanne, you just jumped on. Well, welcome in, welcome on. They did say a March hearing so far. Yeah, okay, you're right. Yes, she said sometime in March. They don't know yet, but that's not a field hearing. I guess it could be, but you would think they would say that. And there's no reason. Who knows? But it sounds like your typical congressional office or hearing room situation. And put it on TV and, bring in the witnesses and all that stuff. It sounds like what it was. But yeah. All right. So thanks for all the comments there, guys. Feel free to continue to do so, because I know we've got a bunch of viewers right now. So the analysis is what the heck just happened? So Representative Luna and Comer are forming a task. I'm just reading now. Forming a task force on the declassification of federal secrets. Okay, I love that. I love it. Just to have that spoken into the atmosphere, is good, right? The fact that we have federal secrets that are not, nuclear weapon related would surprise most Americans. There's no darn good reason to have them, but we have them. Two federal secrets to investigate UFOs, JFK, 9/11, and the Epstein list. For example, like the Epstein list and the the COVID stuff, that to me, that's kind of throwing a bone, some red meat out to folks who have been complaining for a long time about why don't we get the release of this, and why isn't this president doing that on this, and it's why don't we have the Epstein list yet? I mean, okay, I hear you. Again, the guy's still dead. It would embarrass both parties and a lot of rich people, and a lot of people might get in trouble and potentially go to jail, maybe, but I don't know. It's not high on my list, but whatever. Representative Luna leads the effort in coordination with the White House, DOD, DOJ, Representatives Burchett, Burleson, Mace, Crane, Gill, and Boebert. Boebert, well, not a fan of her, but Burleson, Burchett, we said Mace before. Why now? Basically, well, you have heads of these departments now who are up until now, anyways, are very on the same page as far as, and in word at least, not having such secrets, whether it be in defense with Hegseth or state with Rubio. Now Rubio, by the way, is head of the National Archives, which is interesting, much more than Department of State for getting things declassified and released and stuff. Department of Justice. So all these folks are kind of on the same team. I mean, obviously Trump appointed them, but like on this topic of being, again, allegedly, right, in word at least, if not deed yet, transparent, revealing secrets. There's no reason why government should be in control of this and treat us like children. She said all the right things in that announcement. So we'll see how it progresses, I guess. Yeah. All right. So that's what we saw. And the analysis is, well, it could have been a lot more significant. It might end up being significant. It doesn't really satisfy our fast food appetites for sure. Why, again, just even with the JFK files, they're supposed to be released already. And then what was it? Was it yesterday only or the day before? It turned out there was 24,000. What was it? 2,400 files with 14,000 pages or whatever of stuff that we just found all this stuff. Yeah, we know it was supposed to be already turned over years ago, but we just found it. FBI. Thanks, FBI. So like that is the garbage that we're trying to address, right? It's taken us decades to even get to this point of declassifying JFK's murder, and we still can't do it. We still can't get around to it. Now that should tell you at least the bureaucracy is out of control. There's too many classifications. There's too many employees checking each other and not wanting to do their job, or saying it's not my job. It's not my job. I don't know where to find that. And you got to ask so-and-so and get approval for that. And compartmentalization and all that. That's definitely what it shows. And it also shows that usually there's something to it. There's a reason why it hasn't come out. Somebody doesn't want it to. Not the one in charge. Usually the underlings at the different intelligence agencies and or the military are 99 times out of 100. That's it. They're kind of overruling the rule of law and democracy because they would get embarrassed, or worse, that there's illegality at some point, right? And nobody wants to be accountable for anything. We know that. So that's what happened. And so my analysis is, sounds good, but we got to wait to see what actually comes of it. Everything said sounded good. The process itself is what sounds like it could be sus. It seems like it doesn't need to be that involved. I agree with that for sure. They found 14,000 pages. You just post them immediately online. Yeah. You know what the answer to that would be? Probably, Madam Rex? They're not digitized. We can't post them online because they're not digital. I bet you that's what they would say. Would it take more than a couple hours to just take some pictures and post the photos? No, but that's not really how it goes. Scan them. Yeah, scan them. Put it in a scanner. Agreed. Right. Doesn't take that long. If you got a person or 2 or 10 or 20 on it, half a day. But yeah. So the point, your larger point is exactly right. Why don't we have this already? Why do we need just the JFK stuff? The other things haven't been released. You can say like there's no Epstein. This would be like saying the Epstein list is on the president's desk, but now we have a task force to release them or to do something. Or like what? But yeah, apparently we don't know exactly what Trump has on the JFK stuff, even though he ordered it, it's executive order, and whoopsie, we found all this new stuff. Okay, so tell us what it is. Or better yet, don't say anything. Just release it. And so if our media won't do it, then the regular Joes and Josephinas are going to read them and tell you what's up. And we'll know. The world will know. Just release it. You don't have to comment on it. You don't have to redact anything. For God's sakes. That's the point of this whole thing, right? No more redactions. No more protecting people. Just tell what we know. We're adults. Let's treat us like it. Well, at a certain point, I guess they don't believe we are. Basically, like they know better. And there's the gatekeepers of these secrets, whether it be UFOs or anything else, determine that you average American are too stupid or juvenile or can't be trusted, or you would burn down America if you found out. That's the attitude. Or, society would crumble, and the economy would be disrupted, religious systems would be disrupted, logistic supplies for food, who knows, like all that stuff is thought about and thrown out there as ultimate, rationale. So, like Luna said, if that time is really over, that ends today, then fine, end it today. It's good. Great day, right? Great. Today's the day. So let's do it. And then so any other comments or questions, guys? Now's the time. I think we're ready to wrap up here. Lou Elizondo yesterday, Sunday, right? Was it during the Super Bowl? Yeah. What? By the way, go Birds. He posted something very cryptic and ominous with the missiles going off and saying ordnance is inbound or something. I still don't know what that means. I wish he wouldn't do that. I wish we'd all stop doing that crap. Seriously. Just say what you mean. Or don't say it. Right? I think everyone's kind of sick and tired and finished with the teasing and the carrot and stick operation. Just stop. All right. I'm not trying to bag on Lou, but enough already. Enough. It ends today. That ends today. All that crap. Right? Then just end it. It's up to each one of us. We can all end it for ourselves. Don't engage in it. Don't believe it. Don't be intimidated. Don't listen to someone who tells you don't release it. Just do it anyway. Your NDA, who cares, man? Just seriously, just go. Just tell it. Just tell it. Nothing's going to happen. If everyone's looking at you, they can't mess with you. That's what I think. Right? There's safety in numbers. There's safety in publicity, which is why David Grush and Elizondo and all these Tim, all these guys are like, they would advise. Who was it? Did they advise Jason Sands this? Maybe. I don't remember anymore. But anyway, if you're going to come out, come all the Ross Coulthard, something like that. If you're going to come out, come all the way out. Just be as public as possible. Just please because that's where the protection really is. Because if your government won't protect you, the fact that you're known, your story's out there, and everyone's going to know if something happens, where to go and who to come after, then they're not going to do it. That's the worst fear, is being caught. So if the worst fear of a gatekeeper or a lie keeper, whatever, is being caught and exposing themselves, they're not going to be exposed. So there you go. There's my pro whistleblower break your NDA appeal. Nothing big is going to happen until we break these agreements, because they're ridiculous. There's no point in keeping them anymore. Okay. Even though some people say, well, I won't do it because it has something to do with, weapons or like real security stuff. Okay, fine. If you want to draw the line there, whatever. I personally think having terrible, horrible weapons of war is not a thing to keep secrets about. I don't care. China's not going to instantly figure out how to make them just because you say something. Anyway. Just spill the beans. Spill it. Come on. It feels like the time where they're going to be spilled whether you like it or not. So you might as well do it the least painful way, right? Do this the easy way or the hard way. All right. That's it, guys. That's our live analysis. And thanks to all y'all who contributed to it. Love you very much. This doesn't technically count as a podcast, but it was nice to be live with this major announcement from Representative Luna. And we'll see where it goes. And come on, Mr. Trump, get those darn JFK files out. Get this thing started. Right? All right. All right. Till next time, guys. This is Wings of the Eagle. Subscribe, please. Share this video and give what you can. Thanks.